Hello. Today we're going to talk about solving equations. We're going to use something called a line game. Line games are steps that you'll be familiar with. We place them in different contexts so that they're buzzwords and memory cues that will allow you to remember how to solve equations. There are 5 steps to solving equations that we go over here. And if you follow the line game, it will serve you well during this unit. So let's get started. If we look at our equation, we have 5 times x plus 4 equals 2 times x minus 4. This has a distribution on both sides of the equal sign. So what we're going to do to start is perform all distribution on both sides. When we perform distribution, as you recall, we multiply all the terms inside the parentheses by the term that's outside the parentheses. Think of it as if I ask you to hand out some papers in class, you're going to distribute a paper to each person in the class. So we're going to multiply, in this case, 2 times x, which is 2x. A negative times a positive is a negative. And 2 times 4 would be negative 8. On the other side of that, we'd multiply 5 times x, which is 5x. Positive times a positive is a positive. And then 5 times 4 is 20. So we would end up with 5x plus 20 is equal to 2x minus 8. The next step of the line game calls for us to move all constants to the right. Now, a constant is a term, as you recall from our algebraic term video, a term that doesn't have a variable on it. So the only constant on the left-hand side of the equal sign is plus 20. So I'm going to move plus 20 to the opposite side of the equal. And as I change sides, I want to change its sign. So it will wind up on the right side as negative 20. Now, this is starting to look kind of lopsided, but in order for us to combine like terms or to get rid of one of the x's, we have to solve for one x. Okay, it has to be x equals something. We have to get all the terms, the x terms, on the same side. So our next step is going to be to move all constants, all variable terms, to the left. And again, it is change sides, change signs. So when I move it, I'm going to move the 2x, which is the only variable term on the right side, to the left side. And now I'll have 5x minus 2x equals negative 8 minus 20. The next step of the line game is one that everybody's been crying for in the beginning of this video. I know you said, why don't we just combine like terms? Well, at this point, now that we have all of our x's on one side and all of our constants on the other side, as you recall from our algebraic term, we have family issues. So we're going to combine family names. We have the x family on the left and the constant family on the right. As we combine like terms, we'll use the rules. The rule on the left, so we have two numbers with different signs. We're going to subtract the smaller from the larger and keep the sign of the larger. 5x's minus 2x's is going to be 3x. On the right-hand side, we have both have the same sign. The rule that we're looking at is add and keep the sign. So negative 8 minus 20 is negative 28. We're going to add and keep the sign. Now, the last step of the line game is one that everybody's going to cry that you have to Divide. Well, it's not always divide. If I had a division or like 3 over x or x over 3, then I would be multiplying because the last step of the line game is perform the opposite operation to solve for the unknown. In this case, the opposite operation is division, okay, because 3x means 3 times x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by positive 3. Now, when I divide 3 by 3, I get 1, which yields x. If I divide negative 28 by 3, I get negative, because a positive divided by a negative divided by a positive is a negative, and it's 9.3. So our answer is x is equal to negative 9.3. Repeater. Now, as we followed these steps, we had an equation that had distribution on both sides. I'm going to do an example problem on the next page here that uses the same logic, but I'm going to perform the steps as I say it. Perform distribution on both sides. Okay, and it's 2 times 3 is 6x. A negative times a positive is a negative 9. 3 times x is 3x. Positive times a positive is positive 9. Next step, move all constants to the right. So negative 9 on the left-hand side becomes a positive 9 on the right-hand side. Next step, move all variable terms to the left. A positive 3 on the right-hand side becomes a negative 3 on the left-hand side. Change sides, change signs. Now we like to combine like terms. On the left-hand side, we have the rule subtract and keep the sign of the larger. We have two numbers with different signs. We subtract 3 from 6, which is 3. Keep the sign of the 3. We have a positive 3x. And on the right-hand side, we have two positive 9s, which make a positive 18. Now we have the last step of the line game, perform the opposite operation to solve for the unknown. The unknown being the x, we're going to divide both sides because 3x means multiplication. We're going to divide both sides by positive 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So our answer is x equals 6. This has been an example of the line game for Mr. Ellis's integrated math class.